皆さんこんにちは。今日は MIT 在学生のカイリーをゲストにお招きしてます。So Kylie, could you introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Kylie, and I am a student at MIT.
Okay. And what are you studying at MIT?
I am a physics major, but mostly I study the astronomy side of physics.
Okay. And are you currently a junior or a sophomore?
I'm a rising senior.
Oh, rising senior. もうカイリーシニアなんだ。びっくり。Okay. And where are you from originally?
I was born in Hawaii, but I grew up in Idaho.
Okay, Idaho. Is Idaho the state that's known for potatoes?
Yes. They're known for our really big potatoes.
Okay, and did you grow up in like the countryside of Idaho, or are there like any cities like Boston in Idaho as well?
Most of Idaho is actually desert. Yes. Where I grew up was pretty much farmland, so really rural. Yeah, so I grew up, my neighborhood was mostly just by fields and cows and stuff. Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting because I also grew up in the countryside in Michigan. Yeah, and like when I was in high school, I was thinking that there are not so many great opportunities in terms of like extracurricular activities or like research opportunities during high school. So today, I want to ask you how you got into MIT from being raised in Idaho. 聞いてみたいと思います。Okay, so the first question, how many colleges did you apply to and which colleges did you get into?
Sure. So I applied to 9 colleges. I think that's pretty standard. People usually apply anywhere 8 to 10, so 9's right in the middle. And I got into MIT, Harvard, Stanford, Caltech, so my top schools, and then UCLA and UC Berkeley.
Okay, wow, すごいね、本当に。
ありがとう。
Why did you decide to go to MIT?
Sure. So part of MIT's atmosphere is collaboration. So collaboration is really emphasized at MIT, and I really like that about MIT. So if you go to a school like Stanford or Harvard, it's very competitive and everybody works on things kind of by themselves. But at MIT, it's very highly emphasized to collaborate with your fellow students. So even professors will say things like, do this assignment and collaborate with your peers. You can talk about the problems, all those kinds of things. So I really liked that about MIT. So I chose to go there.
Interesting. So sounds like MIT is a friendly atmosphere rather than like competitive, like scary place to study.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, good. And how did you get into MIT? This is such a broad question, but I think what I want to know is what you think is important in getting admitted into colleges.
Yes, of course. So for the American college admissions process, especially for the schools that are ranked really high, so like MIT or Harvard, these kinds of schools, it's really important to emphasize what kind of impact you have on society in your application. So this can be things like qualities showing that you are a leader or that you are driven and self-motivated and that you can make change happen in your community or in society. So that's really what they're really looking for in these kinds of people. And there are so many different ways that you could do it. I personally did it by focusing a lot on my passion for astronomy and basically doing a lot of stuff there. But I've heard people who did all sorts of things. So like, for example, there was somebody who I knew who did a lot of work with homeless people. So they did some huge homeless people project and really helped in that aspect of their community. That kind of thing. Or see, it doesn't have to be, I don't know, academic related. It could be some sort of societal passion like that. So any kind of activity or way that you could show that you could have some sort of impact on society, that's really what they're looking for.
I see. Okay. So what kind of extracurricular activities or volunteers or clubs did you do during high school?
Sure. There were 3 things that I mainly focused on. The first was my passion for astronomy.
Yeah.
And so I mentioned this before, but I did things like volunteer at the local observatory and do research there. Really no research had been done there before, so I decided to just, go for it, which is what they like to see. So that also helped me, I guess. They like to see that, you can make these opportunities when you don't have any. And so, especially since, I don't know, you and I came from such rural backgrounds where it's really hard to find these things, I think it's good to do this and create these opportunities for yourself.
Sorry to interrupt, but did you create the research opportunity?
Yes, I did.
Local observatory. Wow, すごいね.
Yeah, I really wanted to do research there. So I just emailed the observatory coordinator and was like, "Oh, can I do research? Is it possible?" And I had to convince him. He didn't agree right off the bat, but I managed to do it and he let me use the telescope there.
すごいね。So
because the observatory was within the local community college, I could go in with the supervision of the observatory coordinator and use the telescope there without having to pay.
Okay.
Which is nice. Yeah.
すごい自分でやったんだね. So what are other 2 things that you did in high school?
Yeah. So the second was my community was very, very white, and I'm half Japanese. So I really wanted to share my Japanese heritage with the community. And so I started a Japanese club at my high school.
Oh, cool.
With my friend. And we basically grew this club to have about 10 to 15 consistent members.
すごいね.
Yeah, so that was also really fun. So a lot of these activities aren't just activities that I just did just for my application, but also they're just things that were fun to do and really helped me figure out what I wanted to do in life and what I wanted to pursue. So in that way, there are multiple effective aspects of it.
What was the third one that you
Sure.
did?
So the third one is that I really, really enjoy science communication. So I wanted to help promote science at my high school.
Yep.
So I became the president of science club at my high school and participated in some science competitions and grew the science club to help create this area for students to come and learn about science outside of just classroom work. So definitely there's an element of being passionate about those things. If you just choose random activities, it's hard to stay motivated to actually do everything. But especially since I had a passion in those 3 areas, it was easier for me to be like, oh, I want to pursue this passion. How do I go about doing so? And then, kind of going through that train of thought.
I see. Okay. And out of curiosity, what kind of activities did you do in the Japan club you created in high school?
Sure. So my mom is the Japanese parent of my side. So I brought my mom in to teach some basic Japanese and lead some basic culture workshops. We did, I think, origami once or calligraphy. My mom is actually certified in calligraphy. When she was living in Japan, she took classes and got certified for calligraphy. So
wow.
Yeah.
Well, I teach some kids who are half Japanese, half American, and living in the US. And most of the time, they're not interested in Japan or Japanese culture. They don't want to study Japanese language. Not all of them, but I see that kind of tendencies. Did you go to Japanese school when you were little, or were you forced to study Japanese when you were a kid?
Oh no, not at all.
Okay,
there were no Japanese schools in Idaho where I was from. And actually, my mom refused to talk to me in Japanese.
Really?
Yeah, I wanted to learn Japanese when I was younger, but it was really difficult for me to because she wouldn't speak to me in Japanese, and there were no Japanese people in the town I grew up in. It was very white.
Yeah.
So I had to do things like, I don't know, typical one is watch anime, or I don't know, listen to Japanese dramas or things to try and learn. Now I take classes at MIT for Japanese, but yeah, none of those things happened for me. Yeah.
Oh, so you're still interested in Japanese?
Yes.
Okay. すごい面白いね。
When I was younger, when I went to Japan to see my family, it was really difficult because I couldn't talk to them in Japanese. So that's one of my main motivations is I really want to be able to communicate with my family because that's like half of my family, right?
Yeah.
And I can't unless I learn Japanese.